because you got to know where you're starting from, right? So the word is prepare. Now, that's a word we kind of take for granted. We all assume we know what it means, right? It's one of those words, all right, we need to go prepare something. Everybody's got a concept of what you're doing. But just in case, definition of prepare: to make ready beforehand for some purpose, use, or activity. To put in a proper state of mind. To work out the details of or plan in advance, and to put together. Now, you don't prepare for things after they've already happened, right? You're a little late at that point. At that point, you're standing on the, well, I hope I'm ready, right? We've all been in a I hope I'm ready standpoint, right? How many people got kids? You can plan all you want. But when it comes to kids, it's a I hope I'm ready. And a lot of things the enemy throws at you. Let me take a step back for a second. There's a saying that I love. It has to do with military strategy. It's no plan survives contact with the enemy. No plan survives contact with the enemy. Means the first thing to go out the window is your plan. Now, am I saying that plans are bad? No. I know that some folks are very prodigious planners. And they need to have plans to go about what they're intending to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. As long as you're open to God changing your plan a bit. What is it? I believe it was John the Baptizer said, prepare the way of the Lord. It didn't say plan the way of the Lord. It said prepare it. Make it ready. Get things in order. Why? Because you don't know the full plan. As much as we like to think that we can strategize and see all the pieces put together, and I'm a big picture kind of guy, so I like to see the top-down view, as it were. And if my picture's not big enough for God's scope, just gonna put it that way. Anything I can see is big picture, ain't even close to what God's got in His picture. So our plans never quite encompass what they need to. Sometimes they don't even go in the right direction. I mean, I'm not going to lie. When I got out of high school, my plan was 20, 30 years in the military, retire on a boat by myself, sail around the world. Well, now I live in Central Texas with barely an ocean around, don't own a boat, and am very, very happily married with kids. My plan wasn't even close. Amen. I found a saying or a quote. It didn't mention who the quote did or said it, but I liked it a whole lot. So I'm reappropriating it. And it says, I don't feel pressure because I believe I am fully prepared. It is the lack of preparation that creates anxiety. Now that one hit me a little hard because it makes you think, why am I anxious? Well, anxiety usually comes about because you don't know what's fitting to happen. And I'm going to let y'all know, it's okay to not know what's fitting to happen. It's okay. as long as you ready to let God be what's fitting to happen. Because you don't always know what God finna do. Right? What he finna do? It's just fun to say, all right? I guess I should make this official. And I have a lot of scriptures in here, and I haven't got to one of them yet. So let's do that. We're going to go with 2 Timothy 4, verse 2. And I have some of these in multiple translations because I generally prefer the New King James Version, but sometimes the Amplified or the Message just kind of ups the eloquence a little bit, you know? This time, it's in New King James. Preach the word. Be ready in season and out of season. Now, we've heard that one a lot, especially around here. Be ready in season and out of season. Now, what does that mean to be ready in season and out of season? Prayed up? Well, be prepared. Be prepared. I was a Boy Scout growing up, which may strike some of you as odd. I was a Boy Scout up until all the way through Tiger Cubs, which is the little 5-year-olds in the bright orange shirts, all the way up through Boy Scouts. I'm technically an Eagle Scout, Scout for life. What they're saying is always be prepared. No matter what happens, no matter which direction you turn, always be prepared. And they teach you the skills to do so throughout that whole time. God is telling you, always be prepared. Be ready in season and out of season. Always be prepared. And then he lays out the skills that you're going to need to be prepared. Because you may have planted corn, but it's potato season and the harvest is ready. I'm not sure if anybody got that. They're two completely different seasons. Finish on with the scripture. Convince, rebuke, extort with all long suffering and teaching. Now, if we throw that in the Message Bible, that last part says, challenge, warn, and urge your people. Don't ever quit. Just keep it simple. Just keep it simple. Now that's a challenge in and of itself, isn't it? Keep your life simple. I don't know about y'all, but the older I get, the less simple things seem to be. I'm also a math guy. My children will tell you that I like math, and they don't. So they always come to me with their math questions. And I bring that up for the term variables. Variables are the things outside of your control that are about to happen. Right? Things that are outside of your control that are about to happen. Like, I have no control over the traffic on the way home. I have no control over it. I can, however, control my road rage while trying to navigate through it. Or at least attempt to. They make it real hard sometimes. God never tells you to control those around you. God does tell you, be ready, be prepared for when they come to you, because you have something they don't. So I don't work at the main hospital in Temple anymore. I work over at the health plan. And I get to deal with people from all over because they hire people from all over. And so sometimes I'm talking on the phone to folks out of state, out of country, trying to help them with their computers. I can get the devices 100% before I send them out. I cannot predict how they're going to set up their internet or how they're going to set everything up at home, because not everybody knows which cable to plug in where. Right? It's the same way in our lives. Not everybody knows when to speak Jesus or how to speak Jesus. But everybody knows where that accelerator is on that car or that horn is. Right? Those are the easy answers. Those are the ones that society tries to ingrain in you. It's like electricity. It takes the path of least resistance. That's the way society tries to get you. They try to direct you into the path of least resistance. Try to make it, just stick to the easy stuff. Your life will be all right. Well, speaking Jesus isn't always easy. It works out that way. In the end, it is the easy path. But there is resistance. There will be times where people speak against you, where your family members speak against you because they don't understand. Humanity as a whole has a tendency to fear what they don't understand. Throughout history, it's way too obvious that humanity pushes against even full-out fights what they don't understand. They didn't understand Jesus, so they sent him to the cross. The world doesn't understand your walk, so they put things in your path to skew you from it. Now, we have our battle cry. A battle cry is an amazing thing and great for that I'm not ready moment. That's what it's for. A battle cry is for the, oh no, I'm not ready, but I'm going forward anyway. That's what that battle cry is for. But it's necessary and it's needed. But if you're prepared, if you're ready, you got your armor polished up, you got it on. That's the kicker. You got your armor on? Or did you leave half of it at the house because you were in a hurry this morning? It's easy to forget about the things of God because the world doesn't put it in your face. Right? The ads you see on Facebook and YouTube are not going to be about, hey, did you shine up your armor of God this morning? No, it's not. It's going to be talking about, I don't know, I don't even look at my Facebook anymore, but it's going to be talking about whatever you just shopped for. Probably. All the time. Oh, you need that new vacuum? Here you go, it's over here. It's not going to be telling you, hey, just take a moment and shine up that righteousness a little bit. Right? Let's go in a completely different direction than I intended to, but that's okay. Here we go. Hosea 10:12. Hosea is kind of one of those books you don't focus on, but when you go back and check into it, it's like, man, there's a lot of good stuff in there. A lot of the books of the Bible are that way, by the way. There's a lot of stuff that you may or may not remember, but once you go back and check it out, it's like, man, I needed that yesterday. Isaiah 10:12. Sow for yourselves righteousness. Reap in mercy. Break up your fallow ground. Now, for those of you that don't know what fallow ground is, it means non-producing. It means it's not producing crops no more. It is run out of nutrients. Sorry about your luck. Time to move on. That's what fallow ground is. It is time to seek the Lord till he comes and rains righteousness on you. Now, fallow ground can be processed in a way to no longer be fallow. Add some fertilizer, get some irrigation going. It's no longer going to be fallow. It's going to start producing again. Just like all those areas in your life that may or may not be producing the fruit you think it needs, give it some irrigation with the word. Washing with the water of the word, called water for a reason, helps things grow. Give it some fertilizer, get some prayer in there. Now you're going to start seeing things grow. Now, I like this particular scripture because it's sow for yourselves righteousness. On purpose, put forward the right things. On purpose, put forward the right things. Now, if you're not sowing the right things, it's awfully hard to reap the right things. But if you look at the next part, it says reap in mercy. Reap in mercy. Another way to say that is reap in love. I don't know about you guys, but when I go to reap a harvest in a garden, I'm not exactly gentle about the whole process. I got some chuckles out of that one. But you don't go in and, depending on what kind of harvest you're looking at, but you don't go in and intending to preserve most of the plants. Now, some things you do, like peppers and tomatoes, you try to be gentle to those plants, they'll come back. But that's what it's talking about. Because if you reap the harvest in a hurry, in a rush, you're not going to get the full bounty that you were expecting because you damaged a good portion of it on the way through. But when you go through and you're careful and you're prepared and you're ready to see that harvest through, when you have not just the bin you're expecting, but the several other around you that can take care of the overflow, when you have the water ready to wash off the fruits and veggies as they go through, your harvest is going to be better. Because you took the time to care for what you are harvesting. So now that we're done with the introduction. So we all know the story of the wise and foolish virgins, right? We're going to read it here in a second anyway, just to give everyone a refresher. But this story is pretty much the perfect example on prepared versus not. So Matthew 25, 1 through 13. Then the kingdom of heaven shall be likened to 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. Now, some of this is outdated language because we don't talk about bridegrooms too much in society anymore. But a bridegroom is the groom. We just like to shorten it, as we do with most things in our daily conversation. Now 5 of them were wise, and 5 were foolish. Those who were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them. Now, part of me wants to say, why are you grabbing a lamp without oil? You're missing the concept just right from the get-go. Right? What purpose is that going to serve? But how often do we do that? How often do we grab something without making sure it's ready to go? Right? Now, I don't bake much, but I can promise that my wife isn't going to throw in a cake without the eggs. Right? Because you're missing the entire principle at that point. A cake with no eggs is, I don't even think it counts as flatbread. It's just kind of muck. But a lamp with no oil, it's like grabbing a flashlight with no batteries. Right? You have it. It's great. You're not going to get a whole lot done with it. But the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. But while the bridegroom was delayed, they all slumbered and slept. Waiting is boring. Right? Waiting is boring. Not many people can sit down and wait without something occupying their hands or their mind. Right? It'll be halfway through nap time by the time you start to get ready for things. When you wait. Now, parts of the Bible will tell you to wait on the Lord. That's not talking about sitting down, twiddling your thumbs, just waiting. No, that's talking about serve the Lord, like a waiter, almost. Get things prepared, get things together at his request. That's that waiting. But just waiting on something to happen is boring. And your mind is going to go off in left field. At least mine does. Mine goes way over there. So they fell asleep, as I probably would have too. And at midnight a cry was heard, "Behold, the bridegroom is coming. Go out to meet him." Then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps. At the time, the wick would get too long and start messing with the flame, so they'd have to trim it up a bit to get the flame brighter. You got to keep on top of some of those things. You can't just set it and forget it. You have to prepare it, have to keep it ready. And the foolish said to the wise, "Give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going out." Now, I know some people get irritated at this next part, because the wise answered, saying, "No." I can hear other people saying, "Well, why can't you share? Why don't you just give me some of your extra and we can go about doing what we need to do?" Well, they actually answered it pretty well in the next part. "No, lest there should be should not be enough for us and you. If I give you some, I'm not going to have enough to do what I need to get done. It's not selfish to get done what God has for you to get done. In fact, I just had a blank on their names. But the two apostles walking in to the synagogue, the lame man asked for alms. They said, "Silver and gold have I none." They were on their way to the temple. They had silver and gold. They had an offering. It's not selfish of them to keep that offering for what's called for. And then they told him, "But what I have, I give to you freely." They had something. The virgins had something. They had a process in place. They had an assignment. They had a mission. It's not selfish of them to hang on to what they needed to get that mission done. The world may tell you otherwise. You're being selfish. You need to share. Sure. Share the abundance. Share the need. Share the help. Share the time. Do all that. But if God has an assignment for you, it will be provided for. Don't let the enemy come and take what's provided. Because he'll try. And he'll try to make it look like a good thing. He'll try to steal your offering. He'll try to steal your tithe. Try to steal your time. How many people get ready to read the Bible and you've been planned it out. And I use the word plan for a reason. You've been planned it out to where you have some time set aside, to where you're not going to be disturbed, and you got your Bible out, and then about 2 minutes into it, you hear a knock at the door. Or your phone starts ringing, right? Instantly erupting, ruining your plan, trying to distract you away from what you know needs to happen. That's what the foolish were talking about here. That's what they were trying to do. Hence why they were foolish, by the way. They weren't just foolish because they didn't have the oil. They didn't prepare. They were also trying to steal someone else's blessing. No, lest there should not be enough for us and you. But go rather to those who sell and buy for yourselves. Now it's midnight. I don't know about y'all, but back in the day, not many places were open at midnight. Especially places that were going to reputably sell you something useful. Probably wasn't going to happen. Now, these days we have 24-hour places like Walmart that in a pinch you can go get some stuff. But back then you had to prepare beforehand. You had to have enough supplies on hand to get done what you needed to get done. Verse 10, and while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with him to the wedding, and the door was shut. Now, if we're looking at the time frame, any bridegroom that's about to have 10 brides, he's going to be loaded and he's going to be busy. He's not about to wait for the 5 that weren't ready. Jesus is a gentleman, and if you need to take a couple extra minutes to get some of your stuff together, he won't push it. But there will be consequences. Not always bad, just not quite to the fullness of what was planned. His plan, not yours. You not being ready causes a detriment to the outcome around you. If I wasn't ready to come up here and preach the word, I'd be kind of sitting trying to figure and put stuff together at the last minute and stutter a little bit here and there and lots of likes, this is these and ums, and not much of a message, if any, would be preached. When you go into the marketplace, you bring your wallet, prepared to make a purchase or two. Unless you're going to Costco, then you're going to buy the whole shelf because you have to. When you go and you approach someone because the Lord directs you there, do you have the word in your heart? Is it prepared for you to be able to speak it? Because you don't get a whole lot of planning in there. You don't get time to run through the checklist of, okay, oh man, where am I going to start? Let's start with the Roman road and no, you probably don't have that much time. Because if they see you walking over there talking to yourself, stopping every couple of seconds, they're probably going to walk away real quick. Verse 11, afterwards, the other versions came also, saying, Lord, Lord, open to us. But he answered and said, assuredly I say to you, I do not know you. Now, if he was planning to marry all 10 of them, back in the day, be honest, he probably didn't know them. He probably knew their parents, probably didn't know them. So when he says this, that I do not know you, it's because they weren't where they were appointed to be when they were appointed to be there. So he literally did not know them. If on the first day of school, you show up, and I'm using school as an example. I know some of us have been out of school for a little while, but it's okay. You still remember. First day of new school, they do a roll call because they don't know who you are. If you're not there that day, they know someone by that name was missing, but they don't always have a face to put with that name, right? You go. Now, I don't know about you guys. Rarely ever does God say, hey, go talk to Jake. No, he says, go talk to the guy in the dark hood over there. Because he knows I'm not going to know who Jake is until I go talk to him. But God calls everyone by name. He calls them by name. Because he knows who you are. He knows your face. He knows everything about you. But if you are not where you need to be and ignore said name, it's hard to get into class that way. It's hard to get the teaching that you need if you're not going to show up for class and say, here I am. Verse 13, watch therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour in which the Son of Man is coming. Be ready, because He's coming. Is what that boils down to. Now, we've heard it, or at least I've heard it, my entire Christian life. Jesus is coming. Jesus is coming. Yes, He's coming. Right around the corner. These are the latter days. Now, in my analyticalness, I'm like, okay, how do you know it's the end of times? How do you know? And then pastors have said it the best. It's like we have the signs and the wonders, but I know it's closer now than it was yesterday. Because logically speaking, yes, it is. Because every day forward, every minute forward is closer than it was a minute ago. My logical brain can latch onto that. Because if you just tell me Jesus is coming, okay, how do I know? When? You don't know how to prepare for that. Because a lot of people are going to sit down and wait until almost time and then rush through everything they have to get ready in the morning to get everything together and be on time. Where if you know, okay, I know my alarm clock's going to go off at 6:30 in the morning. I need to be out the door by 7:15, 7:30 at the latest. So we got to get some stuff together. Wife is going to get breakfast ready. I'm going to wake up the kids. There's a plan. There's a process that gets put in place. Versus, I don't know. Maybe I don't want to go. Maybe I don't want to go. I'm just going to see how I feel in the morning. When the morning comes up, you're going to be like, I didn't get ready. I didn't have breakfast this morning, so I'm going to swing off at Dunkin' Donuts and grab a coffee and maybe a donut because they don't have them. And then we'll see what time I get there. Being prepared makes a difference. Being ready sets you up for success. While looking through this, I saw another quote. It wasn't attributed to anyone either. And I don't remember exactly what it said, but it said something along the lines of, there is no secret to success. It's all about being prepared, working hard, and learning from failures. Now that made me think a little bit. Like, well, okay. How often do we go through our daily bits, our daily process, and focus on the now? Not so much focused on getting ready for tomorrow, more focused on the kids throwing a fit in the classroom right now is what I need to be focused on, not getting the schedule for tomorrow ready. How many times do we focus on, the car's got gas, I can make it there, I can make it back, I'll be fine. And the battery dies when you get there. Because we ignored the check engine light for the last 3 months. There are always warning signs to help you get ready, to give you a direction in which you need to prepare for. Always warning signs. What they are is different from person to person. Because I'm not going to heed something that will speak to Trey. Two different people, two different mindsets, two different ways of thinking. And something that will scream warning to me may mean absolutely nothing to most other people. So that leads into recognizing who's speaking. Because if the world is speaking louder than God is speaking, you're going to miss those warnings, those directions on, hey, this is coming. You need to get ready. You need to get your shield ready. You need to get your armor ready. This is coming. Let me run through my notes again. The Bible gives you a basis for prayer and preparation, not planning and prediction. To have a plan, you have to have an idea of what's about to happen. All the steps involved. To be prepared, you just need to know that something's coming. And you can never go wrong with prayer. If you lay out a plan and your flight's late, and then your flight gets late again, well, now in your plan, you've probably missed your taxi time or your Uber time or your next flight after that. But if you're prepared and you know that, okay, I know that lately these have been delayed a lot for various reasons. I'm going to set up my Uber to be on call. Not going to put a time because I don't know what time I'm going to get there. So I'm going to have them on call. So when you get delayed a couple of times, a couple of hours, a day even, you know your ride is still available. You're not just in that emergency freakout moment trying to contact anyone and everyone. How many times have we done that? Something comes up, whether it be car battery just died. Well, okay, how am I gonna get a new one? How are we gonna fix this? And then you're scrambling trying to call your spouse, your parents, your children, somebody, anybody, whoever will answer the phone that has a vehicle that can try to get you to the nearest parts place. Right? Now, most of us aren't going to keep an extra car battery on hand. I'm not saying do that. Oh, he does? That's what I'm talking about. Prepared. All right. How many of us have enough money set off to the side to cover a battery when it comes down? And we're not scrambling, okay, well, I need to dig through this couch and that couch and maybe knock on my neighbor's door to get an extra $10 to try to cover it. I don't have that either, so don't look at me as being all, I learned that one the hard way too. But it's about being ready. Can you be ready for absolutely everything? Realistically, no. But you can be prayed up for absolutely everything. And being prayed up is going to get you a whole lot further than having a plan in place. Because anything you can think of, the enemy can think of ways to get around it. Any plan you can make, the enemy will know the exact weak spot to stand it in to make it crumble. Um, how often do you find yourself at a loss of what to do? I'm getting some nods. I'm getting some weird looks. Miss Sherry, never happened to you? But you're giving me that funny look like, that doesn't happen. I'm always ready. I, I find myself very often not having a clue on what to do. Why? Because kids always go in weird directions that you weren't planning for or even thought of. Your spouse has a different thought process than you. And when she said this, you thought it meant this, and you were wrong. And yes, you were wrong because she was right. Plan ahead. When you find yourself stuck at that stop sign, so to speak, of which way do I go, George? The single best answer is prayer. The second best thing to do is to do it with prayer is worship. Because when you start breaking out in song and dance in the middle of work, the middle of Walmart, granted you'll fit right in at Walmart, but in the middle of the classroom, if you break into song, I know not many of us are dancers. I have 3 left feet. It's okay. But when you do that, you change everything that was just thrown against you. Why? Because now it hit that shield. Your faith just sprung up and blocked whatever was being thrown at you. How many of us remember that saying as when we were kids of, I'm rubber, you're glue. Whatever you say to me bounces off of me, sticks to you. That's what happens when the enemy starts throwing stuff at you and you pull up that shield. It bounces right off and sticks back onto the enemy. So how do we get prepared for everything? Is there a one and done answer for being prepared? Well, yes, actually. And it's pretty easy. But most of us, and I say most of us because I'm guilty too, let the world kind of interrupt it. Prayer and worship. Same things you do at the stop sign. Prayer and worship. Fasting if you're in a pinch. Why? Because if you're constantly in prayer, constantly in worship, and I don't mean stop everything you do throughout your entirety of your life and do nothing but prayer and worship. You're going to miss what God has for you that way too, by the way. God's going to send you to do things. But setting aside time, setting aside your mind frame, your thought process into prayer and worship is going to get you ready for whatever comes at you. Now, when you join the military, you go through basic training. Basic training does not get you ready for everything. It doesn't even get you ready for anything. That's not true. It gets you ready for the next part of your training. Basic training is that exact word, basic. It's to get you started on the path, and that is it. And then you go to your next phase of training, and that's to get you ready for your job or what you'll be expected to do. And that is only just the basics to get you ready to get sent to your unit to learn how to do everything else. And then when you get to your unit, that's when you spend 2-3 days a week doing nothing but all the extra parts, and very little is focused on your job, to get you ready for that call up. Now, when Pastor Josephine asked me, like, what are the processes of like getting deployed and how long does it take? And so at all my duty stations, at any given time, the CQ, or the charge of quarters, the person who is 24 hours awake in the barracks and at the motor pool, can, once ordered to, at any time of day, any day of the week, run through the building shouting an alert. Usually it's a code phrase. It was fog rain at one point, the Azure Dragon in another. But they just run through shouting that. You have 1 hour to get your stuff together, run to the motor pool, or drive if you can, get all your stuff loaded into a truck, and get ready to drive to somewhere else. But they prep you for that. It's not an expected thing day one. They prep you for that. Why? Now, why do I bring this up at a church setting? Because the enemy's not going to give you a heads up when he's coming after you. God is going to give you that ping of, hey, this is coming. But if you're not listening, you're not in that prayer, if you're not in worship, you're going to miss the warning sign. And even if you catch the warning sign, it's still going to come. You can sidestep most of it, but it's still going to the enemy will find a way to get stuff thrown at you. That is his goal in life, or in existence, is to hit you with things to stop you from pursuing the things of God. So the things are going to come. And you're not going to have that, well, I know in 6 months there's going to be a massive snowstorm that's going to make me need to stock up on toilet paper and baked beans because everywhere else is going to be sold out of them. You don't exactly get that kind of heads up. But because you were prepared and because you were at peace, you didn't have to rush out and buy 2 pallets worth of toilet paper because you knew you were covered and you knew you were going to be all right. You knew that the snow was going to melt and everything was going to be fine. Right? But that's because you were in prayer. You were in worship. You were at peace. Say the other part of that. It brings peace. So no matter what happens, no matter what comes at you, you have 2 attitudes. Like, I'm going to be all right, and let's do this. Because it's going to come. If you're ready for it, if you're prepared for it, you're not dreading it. You're looking at it in the eyes and saying, all right, you want to do this? Let's go. Because as it hits you, you can block it from the people behind you. You, being prayed up, being ready, being able and at peace, can step in front of the problems for your pastors, for your elders, for those around you, for your apostles. And you may take and I'm going to call a hit. And that could be anything from a flat tire, which is just annoying, to ran out of toilet paper at the house, store's closed, need to wait. Which is a bit more of an emergency. But you can step in and cover so that other people can stay focused on what God has them focused on. Because I know that what I do, my mission at this time, my calling is to support my pastor. I'm in this body. My mission is to support my pastors. And we're blessed. We get two. I don't know who came up with the idea that you only get one pastor and it has to be a male. I don't know where that idea came from. I always found it a little weird. I grew up in church, but not really. And I say that because my grandfather went to church all the time, and my mother didn't so much. So we went to church for, Christmas and Easter. So I knew what church looked like. I didn't exactly participate. Didn't have an understanding. But I always found it weird that it was preacher's wife or pastor's wife and a pastor. We get both. We get a pastor and a pastor. And if you got an issue, you can talk to your pastor. Pick one. They'll both probably have the same word for you. Because they're prepared. Because they're ready. What makes their life easier? When we're prepared and ready. So we can take the pressure off of them. So that they can prepare us to take the next step. See how that works? In a military unit, there's called a chain of command. Why? Why is there a chain of command? Well, because this guy may make the big decision, but this person decides how it's going to get done. God made the big decision and passed it to our pastors to get the little stuff done. We get to be a part of it. We get to... So, nothing will infuriate you more than having a grown adult, and I'm speaking from the military side of this, by the way, not directed at anyone specific. Nothing will infuriate you more than giving instructions to a grown adult, having them look at you and go completely the other direction. And I say grown adult with some quotations around it. Because you can help guide a person, you can't make choices for them. Our pastors are amazing in what they do, because even though we like to go the complete wrong direction, they're still looking at us like, all right, let's clean that off a little bit and get you back over here. These are the stairs I want you to go on, not those ones. We need to go up, not down. Our job as the body is to protect our pastors, is to be ready so that if something comes up, if anything comes up, we can step in and be like, all right, we got this, pastor. Now, our body is real good about that, because our pastors can go other places and know that things will be taken care of here. But at the things of God, there's always better. There's always more. Now, okay, we're going there. When we first came here, I looked at and we're talking about the building, not anything else at this point. I looked at the building. I was like, all right, cool. We're going to be a little church. Instantly, my mind frame was, we're not going to be anything but a little church. Because of the building that we were assigned, not knowing the backside of everything, not understanding the principle or the vision that my pastors had, but with the initial just visual mindset of little building, little church. Cool. Now that I know, now that some training is kicked in, the building is just part of the process. It's not the destination. It's the first step. Now, we've been sitting at that first step for a few years now. And I'm stepping on my own toes because we need to take the next step. We know that what's in our pastors has been built up and strengthened and put into us. And what's put into us isn't just for us. There are more that are supposed to be built up and strengthened. And unfortunately, this current building, as useful as it is, doesn't fit our need. Parking is a big problem. Parking, I mentioned path of least resistance before, right? People are going to try to take the easiest way out. Oh, well, they don't have parking. I'm just going to go on. Oh, well, I need a ramp to get my wheelchair up. I'm just going to go on. Oh, well, I don't know. That building looks a little funky. I'm just going to keep driving. As much as I am much more of a function over form type of person, the building functions, sure. But most people are concerned about the way it looks. Oh, well, it looks old, so it's got to be an old-timey church. I have heard that, by the way. Oh, well, you guys are in that old building, so do you guys have power? Do you have running water? We're like, well, yeah. Those are questions that I get asked. Because people look at the building and assume. And people are real bad about assuming based off of looks. So you have to be prepared. You have to get ready. Because we're not going to stay in this building. Because when we move, people are going to see the real stages. And that's the best part, is that's just the second step. Once we get past the first step, it's the second step. There's still a third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and who knows how many. We need to be ready for whoever walks through the door. Now, I may not be the best person to step in front of someone who is wearing biker leathers and covered in tattoos. Why? Because I'm not that type of person. Our pastor is. They'll walk right up and have a great conversation with our pastor. Our pastor will reach people that I cannot. But I'll also be able to reach people that my pastor cannot. With the same exact message. It can be brought the same exact way. But just based off of the way we look and our backgrounds, we're going to reach different people. So I have to be prepared for that. Just as much as he has to be prepared for the nerds walking in sooner or later. You'll be all right, Pastor. Time went away from me on that one. Wow. All right. Get ready. Be ready. Get it done. I was a motto back when I first joined the military. Get ready, be ready, get it done. There's a process in there. Get it done is the last part, not the first. Get ready. Stay in prayer. Enjoy worship. That's another kicker. If you don't enjoy worship, you're doing it wrong. I had to break it to you. If you're not having fun when you worship, you're missing something. If it's a chore to worship, you missed the point. Worship is fun. Worship is enjoyable. Worship gets you out of your comfort zone and stretches you. Be ready. Stay in that mindset. Stay in the peace. Stay in the joy. Stay in the love. Because you get out of any one of those three, you're not ready anymore. And get it done. No matter what comes at you, get it done. There's no do or do not try. Or do or do not, there is no try. I even messed up the own saying. Man. Do or do not, there is no try. Don't try to get it done. Don't hope to get it done. Know that it is done. God never said, well, I hope it works out for you. Oh, well, I hope that lion doesn't come eat you. Right? He never gave you a hope so and a maybe. He gave you a definitive. It is done. He already won the victory. You just got to walk it out. And with that, Pastor, do you got anything? Elders, do you got anything? No? You good? Good? All right. Would the worshipers arise?